Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning into Like Inc. As we all know, that technology boom has been raging for years now, and there's no sign of it slowing down anytime soon. In our sessions, we sit down with top executives to discuss some buzzworthy developments in the tech world, the journey that they have been on, and how are they making a difference today. I'm so lucky to have Jeff Riddall with me today. Jeff has over 20 years of experience of working and leading different teams in the tech industry. He has led technology-driven growth strategies and solutions at different ventures such as gShift, Mintent, and currently he works as a senior product manager and leader at OneLocal, which is a digital marketing company headquartered here in Toronto, Canada. I personally had the great privilege to work with Jeff at OneLocal, and rest assured, he is the best when it comes to digital marketing strategies, content, SEO, and analytics. Jeff also writes about SEO and content marketing at different platforms such as searchenginejournal.com. Jeff, thanks for hopping on this session with me today.
Oh, thanks for inviting me after that intro. I've got a bit of a big head, but I appreciate it.
Tell us about your journey and what led you to choose digital marketing as a career.
Wow, I don't know if we have enough time for all of that, but I'll give it a shot. So, um, yeah, I got into digital marketing. Wow, like you said, over 20 years ago now. Actually, now that I think about it, probably more like 30 years ago. So, fresh out of university, and I don't want to age myself, but way back when, like pre-web days, I was working for a company that was a national company here in Canada, a provider of paramedical services of all things. So they would send a nurse to your house to take a blood and urine sample, and they did work for insurance companies across the country. And at the time, all of our offices were disconnected. You're basically using fax machines, if you guys remember what those were, and had a bunch of little databases in all these little offices. And I had decided way back when that they all needed to be connected. And there was this new thing called the internet that was starting to allow organizations like ours to connect. I want to try and make this long story short. Accomplished that, sort of developed a central order entry system for this company. And once that was done, this web thing had come along, and people were start talking about web marketing and websites and another way to promote businesses online. And I guess that was really my first taste of it. So helped that company build their first website, their very first website. Again, we're talking like early 90s. This was a long time ago. And ended up sort of just graduating out of that into I worked in a web development company with a couple of friends out of university, opened an office in Toronto. Um, Again, the early days of the web, and then moved on from that into my first startup, the first technology startup. And that one was a company called Hot Banana Software, a content management system that actually predates WordPress. So we were helping, again, organizations now not only have websites but be able to manage those websites and to use a content management system to be able to manage the content. A big piece that came along with that is understanding how to manage the content. And that's where we started to look at analytics and using ways of measuring how the website was performing, how people were behaving when they came to the website. And then another piece that we realized was important was search engine optimization. Now we've got this website, we've built all this great content, we can understand whether or not people are engaging with it. How do we get it found? How do we understand whether or not people are actually discovering the content that we're creating? And Google was just starting to bubble in around that time. Yahoo was already on the scene. Google was coming. Microsoft was coming with their search engine, and we started to think about, well, how are we going to make sure that these websites get found? And search engine optimization started to take hold. Now we're still talking probably 15 or 20 years ago, and that's kind of where I got my start and evolved from there. I've moved through. I think now I'm in, all told, counting acquisitions and things, about my seventh startup, but they've all been centered around content, analytics, and SEO, or search engine optimization. And really, for me, those three things go hand in hand. You really can't do one without the other. I mean, you need content, you need the content to be found, but then you need to understand what's working, what's not working. So you need analytics to sort of back up your assumptions and validate the choices you're making and optimize on an ongoing basis, because it continually changes. So yeah, that's the nutshell of how I got
Awesome.
into digital. And it stuck with me. And I think what keeps me in it is it continues to evolve, right? It's never changing. Some of the underlying principles of even SEO have never changed, but how you get there and the techniques and tactics you use and the strategies are ever evolving. And so that's what keeps it interesting for me and keeps me in it. And yeah, here we are.
Yeah, that's very inspiring. I love that journey because with the development of web and different technologies, your career also grew, and then you grew different teams and different startups. I also know that you have a sales background. How was your sales experience, or how has that helped you in your career to become a leader in the industry that you are today?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll take even a step back. I'll go farther back before even I started my career journey. I've got a Bachelor of Journalism, of all things, which I think has served me well in terms of being able to do research and to listen. Um, that has been key from my sales experience all the way throughout the rest of my career journey, is stopping to listen to what clients, what customers need. Hugely important from sales, from a sales perspective. So when I moved into my, I guess it would have been third startup. You mentioned earlier on gShift. I moved. That's when I made my transition from sales into a product role. Initially, actually, with that company, I started as a customer success manager, looking really to just help clients, learn how to use our software and take full advantage of the software that we had developed. gShift was an SEO platform. And a couple of years into that role, from a customer success perspective, we had a change in the structure of our company, and we needed someone to run product. And that's how I sort of then evolved into a product role. As a customer success person, I got to know kind of everything there was about the product and what our customers needed through listening, and decided I was able, or thought I was ready to kind of take the reins in terms of guiding the product. And that was, again, probably about 8 or 9 years ago now, and I've been in product ever since. So maybe just circling back to your question about sales, though, I think, really for me, everybody in a company is in sales, whether they know it or like it or not. Save for maybe developers, they're the only ones that don't necessarily have to sell per se. But everybody else in an organization, particularly in a startup organization, is selling something, either themselves and or their product, services, the value that they're bringing to their customers. And again, I started off by saying that the most important thing I think I got from my sales experience, or maybe learned from some of my sales mentors, was listening. Was making sure that you take the time to step back, listen to what customers are really saying, what they really need, and then develop your solutions and the value you're going to deliver to them, once you've fully identified what it is they really need. I think I'd like to think that sales has sort of evolved over time, to where at one time it was, we'll always be selling, to where we moved into more of just a solution kind of oriented sale. But now I think it's much, much more customer centric and customer focused. And that's, true across even, product wise, SaaS companies are becoming much, much more customer centric, customer focused, customer first. Everything we do is for the value that we deliver to the customer. Because if you don't do that, I don't know how you ultimately in today's world survive.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I echo with you because I'm in sales, so I personally have developed a lot of soft skills, and you alluded a little bit on the active listening part. When I started my training, it really helped me with my active listening. And I was reading an article where the person mentioned that in today's agent world, you're either selling, developing, or learning. So that's spot on. If I'm not wrong, OneLocal is your seventh startup. What makes you excited to work in a startup?
Um, I think it's just, again, it's the the ever-changing environment. So, you were at OneLocal, and you're probably familiar with startups. We talk a lot about wearing different hats. So right now, my official role at OneLocal is senior product manager, but I also wear the hat of local SEO lead, based on the experience that I've gained over time and our need for somebody in that role. But it's I mean, startups are all about, kind of growth and innovation, and how do you just, again, continue to deliver value. And I think one of the nice things about startup is the flexibility, at least early on, that most startups have in their ability to sort of pivot if they need to make sure that they're always addressing exactly what customers need. All of my experiences through the 7 startups I've been associated with over time have had to do that. Like we've had to pivot, had to change. The landscape changes, the technology changes, user needs change. Again, in response to the technology changing typically, or things like COVID happen, right? And then a lot of companies really have to pivot. Yeah, and I think just being in sort of that startup environment, I think, what's the word? So you have to have that I think hardwired into your mentality of being flexible and not being sort of too tied to one concept, one idea, or one way of doing things. That's kind of what keeps me, I think, excited and going.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, me personally, I loved working at startup too, because every day you get to learn different things, like new things. And also in startups, there's a lot of pivot and new products being launched. Diving into your current role at OneLocal, I was reading an article that every year there's around about 30,000 new products or services being launched. And only 5% of that end up being successful within the first 12 months, and 95% of them don't end up being successful. So what is, first of all, your favorite part about launching a new product, and how important it is for any company to innovate or introduce new products and services to stay sustainable?
Yeah. You mentioned 95% aren't successful. I suppose we'd have to define exactly what constitutes success. I think that is one thing in startups. Failure's okay, right? It's continually learning. A lot of people will say, I've probably heard this term before, fail faster, right? The quicker you fail, the quicker you can get on to something else that hopefully will work, right? A lot of trial and error, a lot of testing, trying to again get to value for the customer, whatever that means, that hopefully you're making sort of incremental changes over time that you are continuing to deliver value. And customers need change, and most startups you're trying to appeal to the largest group, the provide the biggest impact to the largest group, as quickly as possible, right? So that again doesn't mean a lot. I don't know if it's necessarily even the word pivoting, but a lot of iteration, a lot of experimentation. Try the button over here instead of over here. See if that makes a difference. It really is. It's experimentation. Startups kind of give you that ability to do that, that flexibility. And I think it's always exciting that, like, launching a new product or launching even a new feature, even the smallest feature. Sometimes we lose sight of the fact that it's here's this tiny little thing that we've introduced. But for some of our users, it might be that niggling little thing that, like, every day they see that one thing that just bothers them, and it might be a real simple thing that why don't we have fixed that already? Well, because it just never got to be a big enough priority. But when you finally get around to releasing that, and you even get that one thumbs up from the crowd that, hey, finally you got to that, it feels good, right? That you're accomplishing something. My previous life, we embarked on a little project. We called it the Fuzzy Warm Blanket Project. And it was all about just addressing little UX and UI things that had always bothered people. We broke off a slot of time. We took part of our team and said, that's all we're going to work on is these little things, these little minor things that have just irked all of us for a long time. And we called it the warm fuzzy blanket. And a lot of people loved it. But, you know, beyond that, when you're able to work on something that has a marked improvement, or something that's, you know, really cool, some, you know, new innovation, and there's again, it's technology, so there's always lots of cool stuff that's happening. You know, again, as long as you're doing that for the right reason, and that's to deliver value and to show value to a client, or introduce efficiency, you know, make the client's life easier, the customer's life easier, then you know, absolutely, that's, again, even more exciting if we're able to introduce something that people go, wow, I didn't, you know, didn't even know that was possible, that we could do that. That saves me a ton of time or a ton of money, or makes me a ton of money. That, you know, obviously there's huge benefit to that, and it feels really good when we're able to do that.
Great. I love that. I personally also echo what you're saying, that a lot of services and products have become customer centric. And me as a customer, I always like my whoever I use for any service or product to hear about new sales or new service. That keeps the whole business and the product very exciting. Now, speaking of innovation, I know there's a new groundbreaking AI bot, ChatGPT, that's quite viral these days. What is a ChatGPT, and how does it work?
Oh, that's a big question. ChatGPT is, as you'd mentioned, it's a bot. It's AI, artificial intelligence, and I guess at its core, it's meant to be able to provide answers to. It uses natural language processing to kind of look at a prompt or a question that a human types in, and replies with content that you wouldn't be able to know wasn't written by a human, for lack of a better description. So literally, you know, type anything into ChatGPT. You know, what's the recipe for the best chocolate chip milkshake? Or you know, my daughter the other day is in school to become a teacher, and we were talking about building lesson plans for grade 5, you know, geography class with ChatGPT. And it basically has, you know, the AI has consumed the content of the world, or content from various sources, and can go through that content and reply with fact-based answers to those questions, and do it in a way that, again, is pretty indistinguishable from humans. Now, that being said, I'm a writer at heart. I mentioned I've got a journalism background. I personally don't see ChatGPT or any of the AI writing tools that are here now, or that are even coming in the future, to be more than a tool, to be a help. I think you know, ChatGPT can be a great use, can be of great use to, say, you know, writers who are looking for ideas, you know, content ideas, rather than writing the entire article, or perhaps giving them the start, right? So I'm looking to write a new blog post, I'm looking to write a new article on a topic, you know, plugging the question or the root of what I'm trying to write on into ChatGPT, and being provided, saving me the time, and providing me with a framework. But I think that humans need to use it. It's a tool that's pretty powerful in the hands of the right people, who are able to go in and then take what it spits out and turn it into something of value, right? And that, you know, typically mean, you know, editing it, and or adding and enhancing what the AI's provided. I think, you know, like I said, indistinguishable from human, but not completely. I've seen a lot of what has been produced. I've spent a fair bit of time looking and experimenting with ChatGPT, and I think it's great. But I've also, I think I've recognized it for what it is, or what its value is, and that's as, you know, again, a tool that we can use to help save time, maybe save some steps, help with developing ideas, that sort of idea.
That's perfect. I like your explanation of ChatGPT. I've used it for multiple reasons as well. Like I'm in sales. I did ask ChatGPT to write a cold email for me. It did a good job. Did a great job. I
Yeah.
wanted to ask, is ChatGPT going to be like used in real life scenarios? You did mention a little bit about it, but I wanted to know if it's going to replace or maybe accommodate customer service or anybody in education.
I don't see why. I don't know about replace again, totally replace. I do think there's definitely applications, right? Where it's going to, save immeasurable time, research time, for people having to go in and find an answer to a very specific fact-based question, right? Or, you can have, point an AI at, say, you mentioned, customer service. So point an AI at your company's knowledge base, right? And enable your customers to be able to interact with the chat bot to get the answer, which otherwise might take, a human customer service rep more time to go and find that answer. Now, again, you might get the beginning of the answer from the chatbot. And I think we've seen this already for the last few years. These things have been in play where you can go and you can interact with a virtual chat or a virtual agent. I think what's happening now is it's getting more powerful, right? The thing with ChatGPT or any of these AIs is the more we feed into it, the smarter it gets. The more data has available, and the better it gets at being able to provide the right answer. But again, I think you need sort of the human there as the backup, to be able to provide the human answer, or to understand maybe the nuance of the question that the robot wasn't necessarily able to understand. We've heard a lot over the last couple of weeks, months about, so Bing acquired ChatGPT and is going to make that part of its search engine offering. And Google for a few years now has been working on something very similar. I think Microsoft really just pushed the envelope and maybe said, okay, we're going to start now. So Google has since come out and say, well, no, we already have our AI tool as well. That is going to definitely change the game in many ways for SEOs and people that want to be found within the search engines, because there may simply be a chat type offering where it's going to be pulling data from all of the existing content that lives out there. Been listening quite a bit lately to, there's a gentleman named Christopher Penn who's kind of has a take on where this might go in terms of the SEO aspect of using AI. And he's talked a lot about how it's going to become like super important for organizations to not only create content, but to build community. Like that's what's going to enable them to sort of differentiate themselves. For a company like where I am now, OneLocal, we're still dealing with small sort of service-based businesses. So they still are very much going to rely on, interacting with their communities, interacting with their customers, providing, very personal human-based answers. So this isn't likely going to affect them, in the near term. But for some of the big organizations, like, we're talking large multinational, big organizations, the enterprise, where there's, vast stores of knowledge and content that their customers need to sift through. That will be the perfect use, and an increasing use, I'm sure, of the chat-based search. But at the same time, they're going to need to also build community, because that's what's going to differentiate, what they offer to their customers. Otherwise, it's going to be a whole lot of the same content. I think that's one of the dangers with things like ChatGPT and AI is, so if I plug in a prompt, I ask ChatGPT for something, and you ask ChatGPT for exactly the same thing, how do we know that we're getting two different things? Right? Presumably, if it's giving the best answer, it should be giving a very similar answer. So again, if I'm thinking about this from perspective of being a business owner, give me content on how to, I don't know, let's say a plumber, give me content on how to install a toilet. How's that going to differ if I ask the question and you ask the question, right? What can I add to that to make my content what my customers need better than what that you have? There's still some work to be done there, I'm sure.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Absolutely. I think the human aspect of it has to be considered. A lot of chat going around my circle of friends, because they're all in sales. They're like, hey, is ChatGPT or AI going to replace salespeople anytime soon? So we don't know.
I wouldn't think so, because one of the good things that salespeople do is build relationships and build community, right? Like, yeah, I mean, you're still dealing with people to people, human to human. Presumably that shouldn't go away anytime soon.
Yeah, I as a human would love to interact with humans as opposed to a chat bot.
There you go.
OneLocal, and how important it is for any business owner, especially service-based, because I do have some audience in that sphere that they are service-based companies. How is it helping SMBs with their online presence?
Yeah. Well, OneLocal is a combination of a sort of service and platform solution. So we have a technology solution platform that helps organizations. Well, I should start with the agency side, or the services side. So we to start will provide or help organizations get an online presence or develop an online presence, and or if they have an existing online presence, hopefully optimize that online presence. So, and that includes their website, their Google business profile, their social accounts, and ongoing content. So helping them to build content that they're going to be able to use to engage with their community and to grow their I'll put my SEO hat on, grow their online authority. One of the most important things that any organization, small or large, needs to do in terms of growing their business is growing their authority in the eyes of two audiences. The first is their customers, and the other one is Google. And we can't argue against that. Everybody sees an organization these days through the eyes of Google, right? So that's first part of OneLocal, is we help to develop and grow a presence, ultimately to drive business, to drive targeted organic or paid traffic through Google AdWords or other paid ads. And hopefully, the presumption is that we drive more traffic, that will drive more conversion and ultimately grow the business from a revenue perspective. In addition to that, we have our tech platform, which helps our customers engage with their customers beyond sort of that initial, beyond them becoming a customer. So we have a text based solution, so customers can text with their customers, and or we have a chat widget that we can incorporate into a client's or customer's site so that they can sort of engage with their customers through chat. We've also a reviews component to our platform, which enables customers or our clients to ask their customers for reviews after they've delivered services. And reviews are a huge part of establishing local authority for a service business. You want to get lots of your customers saying good things about you. So we help to enable or facilitate asking for and then managing those reviews. So responding to reviews, having those posted on their website, and engaging with sort of, again, your community, your customers through Google or Facebook reviews or wherever those reviews are coming from. We also have a calendaring or appointment booking system as part of our platform. So we have a lot of service-based businesses who book appointments, plumbers, med spas, roofers, you name it, different types of service-based businesses that need to book appointments with their customers. So we've part of our technology stack that does that. And really, it's again about a combination of getting them online, building the business, and then engaging with their customers on an ongoing basis.
That's amazing. Yes, I love OneLocal. What it does helps small businesses show up better in searches. Just to conclude, wanted to know if you have any resource. I really love this conversation, Jeff. Thank you for doing it, first of all. But do you have any resource? Could be a tool, like book, podcast, that you want to share with our audience and listeners that they can avail?
Yeah, well, I've already mentioned one person that I'll mention a few people that I sort of follow and listen to, and that I think have important things to say about sort of digital marketing, content analytics. Christopher Penn, he's sort of my analytics guru, if you will, but he has a lot of opinions on a lot of things. Analytics is sort of his forte, but he really understands, again, analytics, SEO, content. Just digital marketing in general. Another gentleman is Mark Schaefer. He's written a bunch of books. Most recently, I actually wrote this down because I thought you might ask. He wrote something called Belonging to the Brand, and it's all about how effectively the next wave of marketing is about community. And it falls very much in line with what do we do now that ChatGPT is here, or how important community is. Not only for large organizations, but super important for local small service businesses. I've said this over and over. I've had a lot of conversation internally lately, about, well, how do we build our customers' local visibility? And I said, well, first and foremost, they need to run a really good business. Imagine that, right? They need to interact and engage with their customers, or just their community, and convince Google that they are the go-to when somebody's looking for a plumber, a med spa, a roofer, whatever that service may be. And there's a lot that goes into that. It's about, again, just sort of simply engaging with your community, doing that through your website, doing that through messaging, doing that through Google Business Profile. Huge. And I know I'm going beyond just answering your question about about resources, but those would be two for sure. Mark Schaefer and Christopher Penn. One other, and this is from my writing side, Anne Handley. She's written a book called Everybody Writes. Actually, she just released her second version, sort of the updated version, because of things that have changed since she wrote the first one, I think 5 years ago. Everybody could benefit from reading the book Everybody Writes, because it's simply about how to become a better communicator. And I think these days that's huge. Regardless, I mean, if we're all getting digital, we're all becoming digital, and content is key. We need to be able to, and beyond just content, just communication with our customers, our clients. We need to be able to be really good storytellers and differentiate ourselves by telling our organization stories, or our specific stories that differentiate us. And so I would definitely recommend checking out Anne Handley and the stuff that she's talked about and talking about.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'll definitely check all of them. And for anybody listening, Jeff is an amazing digital marketing guru, if you will. I'm going to post his LinkedIn profile on the description of this video. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on the show, and I look forward to have you again on the show. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Lake, thank you. Appreciate your time and all the compliments.